Hi, this is Kurt with Friendly DevOps, a channel dedicated to talking about Linux news and DevOps related topics. In our last video, we did a deployment of our landing zone script. And since that deployment, we can now see that after providing the domain name provider with the NS entries, our certification has now been issued. So now we will proceed with our deployment of our application to the Elastic Container Service. Here's the repository for the script I will be deploying. Just like last time, I will not be going over the script in detail. To deploy the script, you will need the same configuration items as you did previously. You'll need the AWS account ID, the AWS role that you have configured to interact with GitHub. The DB user and DB pass will be fields that you create for yourself. The VPC ID, you will get the VPC ID by going to VPC on the AWS console. Selecting your VPCs and then copying the VPC ID. You will also need the state bucket name of the bucket that you wish to store your state files and 2 subnets. And you will get your subnets by clicking on subnets in the VPC page of the AWS console and just copying the subnet ID. And then you will need the zone ID from the Route 53 zone that we previously set up. So you'll get that by going to Route 53 in the AWS console. Clicking on hosted zones. Selecting the hosted zone that you have created. Clicking on this tab and then highlighting the hosted zone ID. And finally, you'll need to get the certificate manager ARN. You'll find that by first going to the certificate manager, clicking on the certificate ID, and then copying the certificate manager ARN. We will now deploy the script by clicking on Actions, Deployment Workflow, Run Workflow, ensuring that the branch name is the correct branch and that we have deploy set in this field, and then click Run Workflow. Now that the deployment is taking place, it's a perfect time for us to go through the components of the script. So the main body of the script will be in main.ts. Here we'll have the same components as the last time with the name, project, and region. Unlike the last time, they're not as important. However, we'll be using the name for generating the subdomain for our Route 53 project. Here you see us loading a file and appending some lines to it. This will be used by ECS to register each EC2 instance with a cluster. Okay. Here we set the cluster name because CDKTF only provides a placeholder in the variable for the cluster name. And this is generated before the CDKTF script runs and is able to generate. We will also be deploying a database, a load balancer, a launch template, an auto scaling group, a task definition for the ECS cluster, and then the ECS stack, ECS cluster, an app auto scaling group, and a Route 53 entry. Now that our deployment is complete, let's go to the AWS console and verify that our components have been deployed. So let's go and refresh this page. And you can see here, we have a new entry for we have a new entry from our deployment. Okay, we're going to go to the ECS cluster. We have first deployment, right? We have task started. The task has reached a steady state. We go to our relational database service. We have a database has been provisioned. Now all we need to do now all we need to do is verify that the deployment is complete, is to go to the FQDN that we have generated in Route 53. So all we have left to do to verify our deployment is to copy the fully qualified domain name, open a new tab, and then go to the site. As you can see, our certificate is working, and all we have to do is continue the installation process for WordPress. I have no reason to go forward. I hope you like this demonstration. All the material will be in the link in the description. So there we go, a script for deploying a 3-tier web application, specifically WordPress. Join me in the next video where I'll demonstrate how to deploy self-hosted GitHub runners. Until then, take care.